You think you know what fear looks like. You haven't seen fear until you've watched a 15-foot apex predator, something that can tear through power armor like tissue paper, run from humans with pipe rifles and grudges. I should know. I created them, and now I am one. You're listening to this because you found my holotape. Good. That means the bunker held, means the recording survived. Means maybe someone will finally understand what we became out here in the Mojave dust. My name was Dr. Elena Vasquez. Was. Past tense matters when you're talking about humanity like something you used to own. I worked for the US military's bioweapons division before the bombs, back when we still pretended ethics committees meant something. Back when we thought we were building weapons to end wars, not birth monsters that would outlive civilization itself. You want to know about Deathclaws? Then listen close, because I've seen them from both sides of the cage. I've dissected their genome in sterile labs, and I've run with them through the Wasteland dark, feeling the earth tremble under our claws. Yeah, our claws. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need context first. You need to understand that every Deathclaw prowling the wastes, every 10-foot nightmare that makes even Brotherhood paladins soil their power armor, started as a mistake, a brilliant, horrifying mistake that we dressed up as progress. 2 years before the world burned. I was 28, fresh out of Meeting E with a doctorate in genetic engineering, recruited straight into a black project they called Contingency. Protocol 7. The sales pitch was beautiful. We were creating the perfect military asset, something that could operate in irradiated zones, clear enemy positions, survive where human soldiers couldn't. We started with Jackson's chameleons, harmless little lizards that could change color, blend into environments. Perfect baseline, we thought. Malleable genome, natural camouflage abilities. God, we were so proud of ourselves. The FEV, forced evolutionary virus, wasn't supposed to be part of it initially. That came later, when the project directors decided our progress was too slow. When they decided that incremental genetic modification wasn't enough. They wanted leaps, not steps. They wanted monsters, and they got them. I remember the first successful specimen, Subject Delta 1. We'd accelerated its growth, enhanced its musculature, restructured its skeletal system for bipedal locomotion. It stood 7 feet tall in that containment cell, watching us through the reinforced glass with an intelligence that shouldn't have existed. The way it tilted its head when we spoke, like it was listening, like it was learning. You ever watch something realize it's stronger than its cage? That moment when predator recognizes prey, even through 3 inches of bulletproof polymer. Delta 1 figured it out in week 3. The scratch marks it left on the glass went deeper each day, methodical, testing. We increased sedation protocols after that. But here's what the Brotherhood scribes won't tell you, what the NCR's field guides leave out. Deathclaws aren't just weapons, they're smart. Not human smart, but problem-solving smart. Pattern recognition smart. The kind of intelligence that watches, waits, remembers. After the bombs fell and the facilities failed, after the automated containment systems finally gave out and our creations walked free into the nuclear dawn, they didn't just survive, they thrived. The radiation that killed millions or turned them into ghouls, Deathclaws absorbed it, metabolized it, grew stronger. The wasteland that broke humanity became their kingdom. I survived the war in Vault 27. Don't bother looking it up in your Vault-Tec databases. It's not there. Vault 27 was off the books, a continuity of government shelter for essential personnel. We had food for 50 years, water recyclers that could run for a century. We had everything except hope, because we knew what we'd released into the world above. 10 years after the bombs, our scouts started reporting sightings. Deathclaws, they called them. The name came from a terrified ranger who'd watched one tear through an entire raider camp in less than 90 seconds. Death-given claws, he'd whispered, blood still splattered across his radiation suit. The name stuck, but I knew what they really were. My creations, my children, in the most twisted sense of the word. You're probably wondering how I know what it's like from their side, aren't you? How a Vault Dweller becomes something else, something that runs on 4 legs when it needs speed, stands on 2 when it needs to kill. Vault 27's experiment wasn't about preserving humanity. Oh, we thought it was. Vault-Tec told us we were the control group, the baseline for genetic stability in a post-nuclear environment. Lies within lies, wrapped in lead-lined concrete. The real experiment started when our overseer, Director Keller, someone I'd worked with on the original Deathclaw project, revealed the Vault's true purpose. Evolution doesn't wait, he said, standing in front of the gathered survivors like a prophet of our new religion. And neither should we. The modified FEV strains in our food supply had been there from day one. Microdoses, he called them. Controlled mutation. Guided evolution. We were becoming something that could survive. The world we'd created, whether we wanted to or not. Most of the Vault Dwellers showed minor changes. Improved radiation resistance, slightly denser muscle tissue, better night vision. But some of us, those of us who'd worked directly with the original specimens, who'd been exposed to the prototype, viruses, we changed differently. It started with dreams, not nightmares. That would have been a mercy. These were memories that weren't mine. Running through pre-war forests on all fours, the taste of fresh deer blood, the feeling of camouflage, rippling across skin that could turn from sand brown to shadow black in seconds. I'd wake up with dirt under fingernails that had grown 3 inches overnight, have to file them down before morning roll call. The hunger came next. Not for food, the Vault had plenty of that. For the hunt, for movement, for the feeling of muscle and sinew working the way they were meant to work, not confined to these metal corridors, but racing across open ground, apex and untouchable. You know what's funny? Deathclaws don't see the way you do. Their vision is different, heat signatures layered over motion detection, creating this flowing map of potential prey and threats. I know because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still see that way. The world becomes geometry and temperature, stripped down to its most essential components. Things that run and things that chase. Keller documented everything, of course. Good scientist to the end. Even as his own transformations began, scales spreading across his back like armor, his jaw extending to accommodate teeth that could shear through steel, he kept recording. Subject exhibits remarkable adaptation to hybrid genome, he'd dictate into his recorder, speaking about himself in third person, like that could maintain some clinical distance from what we were becoming. 23 Vault Dwellers out of our original 100 showed significant metamorphosis. The rest, the changes killed them, or drove them mad, or both. I watched my lab assistant, Private First Class Williams, claw his own eyes out, because he couldn't stop seeing in thermal spectrums. His brain couldn't process the dual inputs, but those of us who survived the transformation, who found the balance between human consciousness and predator instinct, we became something unique. Not quite Deathclaw, not quite human. Living bridges between what was and what is. The first time I killed as whatever I am now, it was a raider who'd found our vault's hidden entrance. He had a pipe rifle and the kind of overconfidence that gets you killed in the Wasteland. I remember time slowing down, my vision shifting to track his heat signature, the way his heartbeat sounded like thunder in ears that had become too sensitive. He never saw me move. One moment I was 30 feet away, the next my hand, my claw, was through his chest. The worst part? It felt right, natural, like every human moment before had been the aberration. That raider's blood cooled on my claws for exactly 43 seconds. I counted. You count things like that when you're trying to hold on to the part of you that still thinks in numbers instead of prey patterns. His friends found him 6 minutes later. I could hear them coming from half a mile away, their boots disturbing the sand in rhythms that translated to 2 males, 1 female, approximately 200 pounds, 180 pounds, 140 pounds, carrying metal, carrying fear. They ran. Smart choice. But here's what you need to understand about being a predator in the Wasteland. Everything that runs from you also wants you dead. See, Deathclaws, real ones, pure ones, they don't understand why humans hunt them. In their simplified but efficient minds, the equation is basic. They are apex, you are prey. Running is survival, fighting is death. But humans hunt what terrifies them. They organize, they plan, they turn fear into bullets and plasma rounds. A Deathclaw can kill 20 men, but the 21st might have a Fat Man launcher, and then all that evolution means nothing against nuclear fire. I learned this the hard way when I left Vault 27. Had to leave. The others were changing too, fast, losing too much of their human selves. Keller had started eating the failed subjects. Not out of hunger, but out of some twisted scientific curiosity about biomass reintegration. The last recording I heard from him was just breathing, deep, rattling breaths that no human throat could make. Out in the Mojave, I discovered what my children had become in the decades since the war. Deathclaw packs had claimed entire territories, turned pre-war cities into hunting grounds. Quarry Junction, you know that place? Used to be a limestone quarry before the war. Now it's a Deathclaw matriarchy, ruled by an alpha mother who survived 40 years of brotherhood hunting parties. I watched her once, from a ridge 2 miles out. Even at that distance, she knew I was there. Turned her massive head, 12 feet tall when standing upright, and looked directly at me. Not a challenge, not a threat. Recognition. She could smell what I was. The familiar but wrong scent of altered genome, of her kind twisted through human filters. You want to know what it's like being a Deathclaw? It's being born into a world where you're simultaneously the most dangerous thing alive and constantly hunted. It's having the strength to tear through power armor, but knowing that humans have weapons that can turn you to ash from 1,000 yards away. It's being smart enough to recognize patterns, patrol routes, trap layouts, hunting party formations, but not smart enough to understand why these soft, weak things keep coming for you. The younglings are the worst to watch. Deathclaw babies. Yes, they have babies, live births, not eggs like their chameleon ancestors, are about the size of a large dog. They play like predator cubs everywhere do, practicing kills on radroaches and gecko prey. They chirp. Actually chirp when they're happy. These soft, trilling sounds that their mothers respond to with deeper rumbles. I've seen the Brotherhood gun down entire nurseries. Preventive extermination, they call it. Knight Captain Morrison once told me, before he knew what I was, that it was mercy. Better to die quick as pups than grow up to be monsters, he'd said, cleaning Deathclaw blood off his laser rifle. But here's the thing. Morrison didn't understand that most humans don't. Understand, Deathclaws don't attack settlements unless they're desperate or defending territory. They're not mindless killers. They hunt when hungry, defend when threatened, and otherwise. They sleep in the sun like massive scaled cats. They maintain their claws against rocks, creating these distinctive scratching posts that experienced trackers can identify from miles away. The NCR's rangers have a different approach than the Brotherhood. They study patterns, learn migration routes, set up warning systems. Ranger Station Echo has a deal with a local pack, unspoken but understood. The Rangers don't hunt in the Eastern Canyons. The Deathclaws don't raid the Brahmin herds. It's worked for 3 years now. Of course, the Rangers don't advertise this arrangement. Bad for morale, they say, to admit you're negotiating territory with animals. But Deathclaws remember. God, do they remember? I've seen them avoid specific areas for years because a packmate died there. They teach their young through demonstration. This is safe. This is danger. This is the human with the long rifle who killed your father. They have grudges that span generations. There's a Deathclaw in the Divide, or was before the Courier, that the locals called Ghost Hide. Albino, nearly white, with eyes like blood. It survived 17 different hunting parties over 2 decades. Not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being smart. It learned human tactics, turned them around, started leaving false tracks, doubling back on its own trail, setting up ambush points where the acoustics would hide its approach. I met Ghost Hide once. Met isn't the right word. Encountered. I was tracking a caravan that had gone missing near Prim when I caught its scent. Ozone and old blood, the peculiar musk of a Deathclaw that's lived long enough to be truly dangerous. It was watching the road from a concealed position, had been for hours based on the heat patterns in the sand, waiting for something specific. When it noticed me, there was this moment, maybe 5 seconds, where we just looked at each other, two predators recognizing something familiar in the other. It could have attacked. I was in its territory, potentially competing for the same prey. Instead, it made this low, rumbling sound, not a growl, a question almost. I responded the only way I could, showed my own claws, let the partial transformation ripple across my visible skin. Scales surfacing, then receding. See, I'm like you, but not. I'm other. Ghost Hide tilted its head, that universal Deathclaw gesture of consideration, then deliberately turned away. Dismissal or acceptance, I'll never know. But it let me pass. And 2 days later, I heard it had killed 6 NCR troopers, who'd been using that same road to smuggle weapons to the powder gangers. The transformation isn't controllable, not fully. Strong emotions, adrenaline, the smell of blood, they all trigger it. My bones extend, restructure. My skin thickens into scales that can turn aside small caliber rounds. My fingers elongate into claws that can punch through sheet metal. But the worst part is how natural it feels, how every human moment becomes the effort and every predator moment becomes the relief. I've tried to document the actual experience, the way Keller would have wanted. When fully transformed, my thought patterns change. Not diminished, different. Abstract concepts fade, while spatial awareness expands exponentially. I can track 12 moving targets simultaneously, calculate intercept trajectories without conscious thought. Every sound creates a 3-dimensional map in my mind. Every scent tells a story. Who passed by, when, their emotional state, their health, their fear. But you lose things too. Complex language becomes difficult. Mathematical reasoning, beyond practical application, feels like trying to hold water. Empathy becomes selective. Pack matters. Everything else is either threat or meat. The longest I've maintained full transformation was 3 days. I was being hunted by a Brotherhood kill team that had somehow identified what I was. They had plasma, weapons, pulse grenades, even a modified vertibird for aerial surveillance. For 3 days, I was more Deathclaw than human, using every instinct to survive. I killed 2 of them, paladins in full T-51B armor. Struck from above, where the helmet meets the chest piece. One claw through the gap, severing the spine. Quick, efficient. The way a Deathclaw kills when it's not feeding but eliminating threats. The 3rd day, when the transformation finally receded and I could think in words again, I found their bodies. Took their holotags. Paladin Marcus Webb, 28 years old, 2 kids back in Hidden Valley. Paladin Jennifer Cross, 31, was getting married next month. I know because I listened to their personal logs, these little audio diaries they kept for their families. That's the brutal truth about being an apex predator. You're never just the hunter. You're always also the hunted. Every human with a gun and a grudge sees you as either a trophy or a threat. Every settlement puts bounties on your head. Every caravan guards shoot first at the slightest rustle in the darkness that might be your approach. The Brotherhood never caught me. They gave up after I led them into a nest of cazadores near Goodsprings. Funny how even power armor doesn't mean much when you're fighting off giant wasps with neurotoxin stingers. But that's the Wasteland's joke. There's always something worse, always a bigger predator or a smaller one with better poison. You learn things when you're stuck between species. Like how Deathclaws actually communicate. Not language, they don't have the vocal cords for that, but meaning. A mother's warning call vibrates at a frequency that makes your bones ache. A hunting pack coordinates through subsonic pulses that Human ears can't detect, but your gut feels as wrongness in the air. Territory markers aren't just claw marks and scent. They're arranged in patterns that indicate pack size, breeding status, even recent kills. I spent 6 months with the quarry, Junction Pack. Not by choice at first. I was wounded, plasma burn from a fiend who got lucky, and collapsed near their territory. Should have been dead. Deathclaws don't usually scavenge, but they'll opportunistic feed on easy prey. The younglings found me, first. 3 of them, adolescents about 6 feet tall. All curiosity and barely restrained killing instinct. They circled, chirping those questioning sounds, confused by my scent. Prey that smelled like pack. Enemy that felt like kin. The alpha mother arrived like thunder across stone. 15 feet of muscle and scale, scars crisscrossing her hide like a map of every human who'd tried to kill her and failed. She could have ended me with one swipe. Instead, she did something I've never seen documented in any NCR field guide or Brotherhood bestiary. She tested me. One claw, placed almost gently, on my chest, pressure, but not piercing. A question in physical form. What are you? I answered the only way I could. Let the transformation take me. Felt my bones reshape and skin harden into scales. Showed her the truth of what her kind had been made from, what they'd become through my hands and humanity's arrogance. She accepted me. Not as pack, exactly, but as adjacent. Allowed. For 6 months, I lived on the edges of their society, learning things no human researcher could ever document. Deathclaws, dream, I've watched them sleep. Seen their eyes move beneath closed lids, heard the soft whimpers and growls of whatever passes through their minds in darkness. They mourn their dead, not with burial, but with gathering. The whole pack will surround, a fallen member, touching them with their claws, memorizing the scent one last time before leaving the body for the wasteland to reclaim. They have favorite foods, not just hunger-driven consumption, but preferences. The alpha mother loved Radstag heart, would pass up easier prey for the chance at that specific organ. One of the males collected Brahmin skulls, arranged them in his sleeping area like trophies or toys. I never figured out which. But here's the tragedy you need to understand. They know they're monsters. Not in human terms, not with our moral weight, but they understand that they don't belong. Deathclaws have no natural ecosystem role. They're too effective, too adaptable. They've driven out or killed every other apex predator in their territories. They're genetic orphans, created for a war that ended before they could serve their purpose. I saw it clearest during mating season. The males fight, brutal, bloody displays that can leave even the winners permanently maimed. But it's wrong. Their instincts are jumbled. Chameleon territorialism mixed with FEV-induced aggression and military conditioning we programmed in but never got to properly calibrate. They're following behavioral patterns for a species that doesn't exist, can't exist, because we built them from spare parts and ambition. The worst day was when the hunters came. Not Brotherhood or NCR, just Wastelanders looking for eggs to sell. Deathclaw eggs go for thousands of caps on the black market. Some people think they give you strength if you eat them. Others just want to raise their own killing machine. The pack knew they were coming hours before. Scent on the wind, vibrations in the stone. The alpha mother did something I'll never forget. She moved the younglings to me, pushed them toward my cave with those careful, deadly claws, looked at me with eyes that held too much intelligence for an animal, not enough for a person, and made a sound I'd never heard before. A request, a plea, protect them. 27 Wastelanders died that day. The pack killed them all, but not before losing 6 adults and the alpha mother herself. Plasma weapons at close range. Even Deathclaw hide can't handle concentrated energy discharge. I kept the younglings hidden, held them back when they tried to respond to their mother's dying calls. Listened to her scream for 3 minutes before her respiratory system finally gave out. After that, the pack scattered. Without the alpha mother, the social structure collapsed. The surviving adults went solitary, The adolescents formed smaller, weaker packs that wouldn't last the season. The younglings I'd protected didn't understand why I wouldn't let them follow. They chirped at me for days, those questioning sounds getting weaker as hunger set in, and I couldn't hunt enough to feed them all. I killed them myself on the 4th day, quick, painless. A claw through the brainstem before they could even register fear. It was mercy. They would have starved or been picked off by raiders, turned into living experiments or arena attractions. At least this way, they died thinking I was still their protector. That's the brutal life of a Deathclaw. You're born into a world that fears you for what humans made you to be. You're hunted for the sin of existing, killed for the crime of being. Too perfectly designed. Every settlement tells stories about the monsters in the Wasteland, but nobody tells stories about the monster makers in their labs, the people like me who played God with genetics, and then act surprised when our creations outlive our civilization. The transformation is getting stronger. Each time lasts longer, goes deeper. I'm forgetting human words, remembering them only when I concentrate. Yesterday, or was it last week, I couldn't recall my mother's name for 6 hours, but I can tell you exactly how many radroaches are hiding in the walls of this bunker by scent alone. I can hear your heartbeat if you're listening to this recording right now. Imagine the heat signature you'd make against the cold metal of wherever you've taken shelter. Soon, I won't be able to change back at all. The human parts are dying, cell by cell, replaced by something better adapted to this dead world. Keller would probably call it successful integration. The complete merger of designed and designer, creator consumed by creation. But before I lose the last words I have, let me tell you the truth about Deathclaws that no one else knows, that dies with the human part of me. They remember us, not humans, as we are now, scattered, weak, scrambling for survival. They have genetic memory, inherited flashes of the world before. Sometimes I've seen them stop at pre-war ruins, touch specific objects with something almost like recognition. A Deathclaw in Cottonwood Cove once spent 3 hours staring at a broken television screen, head tilted in that consideration gesture, like it was trying to remember something vital it had never actually known. We built them to be weapons, but we accidentally included something else in their DNA. Longing. They're drawn to human structures, human paths, human spaces, not just for hunting, but for something they can't articulate and we can't understand. They're looking for a purpose we never got to give them, a war that ended before they could fight it, masters who died before issuing orders. Every Deathclaw in the Wasteland is waiting for something, and the tragedy is, they don't know what. If you see one, if you're ever faced with those eyes that hold too much intelligence and not enough soul, remember this. You're not just looking at a monster, you're looking at humanity's orphaned child, abandoned in the ashes of our ambition. They didn't ask to be made. They didn't choose to be perfect killers in a world that kills everything imperfect. They're just trying to survive. Like you. Like what's left of me. The recorder's almost out of power, and I can feel the change starting again. Bones extending. Thoughts simplifying to hunt patterns and territory marks. This is probably my last human recording. Tomorrow, or next week, or next month, someone will find a Deathclaw denning in this bunker. They'll kill it. Me. Without ever knowing it once had a name, once had a mother who wasn't scales and claws, once helped create the very thing it became. That's the brutal life of a Deathclaw. Even the apex has to answer to someone. Even the predator ends up prey.